Shock Monkey Radio is entertainment for adults, by adults, and the views and opinions expressed here do not reflect upon the sponsors or FXBG Public Radio. For additional information, please refer to the United States Bill of Rights. Stand warned. Did you see Milo Yiannopoulos on Timcast? What do you think about what's going on with Tommy Robinson and this stuff going on in England? What do you think about all that? Did you hear the latest gossip about the Daily Wire? Apparently that show at the live at the Ryman was a big flop. They had to get employees to fill the seats in there, and they didn't want to do it live because they show how many people weren't there. It seems like they've been losing subscribers, and Daily Wire's going downhill. It probably all happened after they parted ways with Candace Owens. And Candace Owens, the reason why they parted ways with Daily Wire parted ways with her is because she started asking questions about Israel and Jews and so forth. And Daily Wire's made its bones by fighting for free speech and the right to free speech. And you know what? A lot of the modern conservatives are really on board with that free speech thing. It's okay to ask questions. I know, but Candace, I wouldn't want to work with her. She distracts me too much. Plus, you're married. It's like once you get married, it's like Eliza Schlesinger. Once you got married, it's like who's going to be interested in you anymore? It just doesn't make sense to me. See, I want to talk to you about all this kind of crazy drama because it's just information that I glean. I pick up things here and there and so forth. But I feel like a lot of you are yawning right now because you're like, I have no idea who any of these people are or what any of this is, and why should I care about it? And that's where I am. It's like, why should I care about it? And so in the course of all the things that I read and collect and the data I stuff into my head, I'm left with these extraneous pieces of information. I don't know where to put them. I don't think they're good enough to be put on the show. I don't think they're good enough to remain in my memory. And I sure don't think that they're good enough for me to write down on a blog or something like that. So I don't know what to do with it. So I just want to throw it away. Welcome to Shock Monkey Radio. I'm your host, the Madman. I want to remind you that I have a Patreon. Go to patreon.com/shockmonkeyradio. Do we have the things?
We have the things.
The thingies? Bring up the thingies. Patreon.com/shockmonkeyradio. Become a patron today. I'd appreciate it. Also have Cash App. Use hashtag shockmonkeyradio, all one word, to send me money that way. Or you can follow me on social media at DenolitSol. That's the word wasteland spelled backwards on the Twitters. And where's it over here? That's SLRobbins13 on Instagram. It's hard to read in that angle. So I was thinking about how people think that doing this is somehow difficult. It really isn't. I was thinking back to people who are afraid to do public speaking. Back in high school when everyone had to do an assignment, you have to go up in front of the class and read it. And there's some people in the class that were just terrified of doing that kind of thing. And I'm just what are you so worried about? People are how do you sit there on the internet, put all your stuff out there, everything you think and feel and stuff. I don't know. This never really concerned me. It's I never really cared what other people think of me, and I found people that did odd. And I know there's a lot of people out there like that. I understand, but I mean, it was also I guess in band class I would have a solo. I would play trumpet or something like that, and you're doing a piece for the school band, and you're the lead chair of the school band, which I was briefly, and you got to do this little trill, and it's just you, and you practice it, you get it right, and that's all the worry I had, is to make sure I perform correctly. And so there were times when I had to stand alone in front of people. It's not that often where you have to stand alone in front of people. Sometimes you get public speaking, sometimes you do a YouTube channel or something like that. You do an Instagram story or something. But it's not every day. Every other time you can just sink back into the rest of the crowd. You know what I mean? So there's nothing really to worry about. There's only a little bit of time you're judged. And even if every single person who ever sees this video is watching in this room right now, and half of them are going, boo, you suck. It might distract me from what I'm trying to say. But I mean, other than that, I really don't care if you think I suck. I see all the dislikes. You know what I mean? And so I could talk to you personally. If you were in this room right now, I could sit there and talk to you just fine.
All right. I don't think we're going to have audio, though.
No audio? You want to give it a try? See how it goes. Yeah, I can talk to you just fine. I can also talk to you plural just fine. It's that simple.
On finding your breath.
What?
Where's your breath?
In my mouth? Oh my
Your
God.
body could betray you in any number of ways.
Like
and,
how?
Like, you know, locking up and maybe throwing up and stuff.
Really?
Yeah, you want to find your breath?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's in my mouth.
Look, we're up next. Don't click on it.
Not doing
Locking up
Oh.
and
Well, we're going to do that next week. Screw it. We'll skim over the news. We'll do it in movie reviews. Screw it. But that scene of Dee and Charlie it lives in my head rent free because Charlie, number one, isn't wrong. That's where his breath is. But the whole idea was like Dee goes. She's incredibly nervous in front of crowds and when she's in front of people. And so she does all this stuff to psych herself up to go out and go to open mic nights and try to do stand-up comedy, right? And she ends up psyching Charlie out, right? Because Charlie goes up there and he's doing okay. Cheese, that's a funny thing. You know, cheese is weird food. And he starts doing the gagging noises that Dee does. Because Dee will get up there and start talking on the microphone. Hey, what's up with those Bluetooth things? And some guy in the back, oh my God. And then the MC comes up after she runs off stage and says, well, at least it was quick and dry this time. Yeah, it's awful. And I just don't understand people like that. You know, it's just, you want to find your breath? It's in your mouth. Don't overthink it. Don't psych yourself out. I was also thinking about in terms of baseball. Every time you go at bat, it's just you up there representing the offense for your team. And so you have to own what you're doing. You know, you don't want to be in the box and say, I don't, and the coach is like saying, you got to swing at something. You don't want your whole team sitting there saying, you don't want to strike out not swinging at all. So you got to own what you do. You know, if you want to perform, if you want to do it, you got to stand on your own. I don't know. It seems so simple for me. And other people are like, I could never go on YouTube and say the things that you say. All right. I want to talk about the competency crisis for a little bit. And I know it's a real kind of small nitpicky thing of mine, but when I watch movies and so forth, I watch with subtitles. Mostly because my hearing isn't very great, and I don't want to, because when if I listen to something that volume that I can hear everything at, everyone's like, turn that down. Hey, old man, turn that down. And I can respect that. That's what earbuds are great for and so forth. And so, but I also watch with subtitles even when I have the earbuds in, because sometimes people mumble or for some reason I missed it, because usually like noise has a real problem. I have a real problem hearing stuff when there's noise. I think it's a Navy thing, because it's always it was always noisy on a ship. And so I was thinking about how the subtitles, especially AI generated ones, are terrible. They're absolutely terrible. Getting words wrong all the time. You'll see it even in like TikTok clips and stuff like that, where it does that AI auto-generated subtitles, and it's all sorts of wrong. It's all sorts of wrong. Or you'll be watching a movie, right? And the subtitles are like way delayed. So imagine being an actual deaf person, and you're sitting there like, and you're watching, and then there's this big argument going on between these people, and you're like, what's going on? Somebody gets stabbed, and you're like, why'd that happen? Then all of a sudden it's a flurry of the argument and the action scene. You're like, I gotta catch up real quick, but something else is happening. If I were a deaf person, I'd be incredibly pissed off, or you probably wouldn't even know. And you'd think that people who can hear are freaking crazy and stupid. They don't know how to read and write. If I were a deaf person and I saw that kind of stuff, I was like, what is wrong with these crazy people can hear? What is happening? Is it the infrasound? Is it the hum? because they have the internet. They know about these things, and they can look up these conspiracy theories, and they'd be like, "Oh, thank God I'm immune to infrasound." I was also thinking, like, if you were deaf, you'd get the biggest, loudest shotgun you got, right? Boom! Doesn't bother me. And you're walking around your house with people going, and you're like, "What's that like?" I don't know.
They still feel it.
Right? Yeah, they
They
feel concussion, obviously, but it won't really hurt their ears the way it does to people who can hear. Anyway, I'm just sticking up for the deaf people. It's like these subtitles are pissing me off. Am I crazy? Does anyone else notice this? Anyway. I was also thinking, like, imagine if Trump wins. Can you imagine the amount of caterwauling we will hear after he gets elected? Just if, regardless of what you think, will happen. Say it does happen, that Trump gets reelected. You remember how much they cried the first time? I couldn't imagine the buckets of tears that are going to come when he wins again. You know what I mean? And what's funny is that there's no reason for you to cry. There's absolutely no reason for you to cry. There's absolutely no reason for you to cry the first time. That's what's funny about it to people like me. You know what I mean? That's why it's funny to us, is because there's no need to cry. It's okay. He already did 4 years in office, left peacefully after the election. If he had any designs of tyranny, why wouldn't he do it then? Even if he wins and you hate him to pieces, it's going to be okay for you. People like me know that, and we think you're hilarious for thinking that. I'm going to leave the country if Trump gets reelected. Go ahead. Go ahead. And you'll be like, oh my God, everywhere else in the world is actually racist. Oh, Lord. Anyway, you guys crack me up. I can't tell you how much joy it gives me. It's something Gavin McInnes said. It's like, it's a clown world. It's a clown world, and it's easy to make fun of clowns. Enjoy it. All right, let's do a couple movie reviews. Regretfully, I watched Dumb and Dumber 2 this past weekend. And we're never going to acknowledge the second one. But this movie, it made me wonder if the first movie was even funny. I was so disappointed. I mean, was the first movie really great? Or was it just a novelty because people that stupid were so rare that we're like, well, how can you really be that dumb? But here we are. This movie was in 2014 with the original actors back for Harry and Lloyd. And it was 20 years after the first movie. And I think at this point, I'm just so tired of all those people out there who are actually as dumb, Harry and Lloyd level of dumb, walking these streets today, that I don't find it funny anymore. It's scary because there's too many people like that in the world. I mean, it's the usual recycled jokes, it's juvenile humor, and even forced jokes. I mean, you could tell they went back through the script and changed certain words to words that sound similar to the other words, just to add some funny, laughs per minute to this horrible movie. Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels are clearly much older in this movie, and they're both crazy liberals now. Jim is far from in his prime now. Far from it. And, comedy was never Jeff's forte. And so I was incredibly disappointed with this movie. 3 of 13 stars. I regret watching it. It ruined the first movie for me. Are you writing on your screen?
Dry erase.
Oh, okay. You seen Dumb and Dumber 2?
Yeah.
You agree with my assessment?
Yes.
Terrible.
Absolutely awful.
Yeah. Let's talk about Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country. This is how you do it. They brought back this same director from Wrath of Khan, Nicholas Meyer, to do Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country. 1991 film. And let me explain something about 1991. At that point, we only had 1 through 5 of Star Trek, and a majority of them were terrible. And, you know, Paramount knew it. People knew how that we hated it, especially number 5, the last one that came out. The whole, why does God need a spaceship controversy? Excuse me. It mattered to people. It mattered to people how bad 5, 3, and 1 were. But people love 2. They're okay with 4. And so they're like, we need to bring back the classic director who did Khan. And it was a good call. It was a good call. You made a really good Star Trek movie. So the basic premise is like Praxis, Klingon moon, blew up due to a mining disaster. And so Kronos starts losing its ozone layer. There's the Leonard Nimoy hippie element. They start losing their ozone layer, and they're going to start dying off in about 50 years. And so that it forces the Klingons to try to make peace with the Federation, try to maybe even join the Federation. And so Kirk gets tapped to go and escort. Let me try the Klingon Chancellor. And even though everyone knows that Klingons killed his son, and I'll be honest with you, when I watched this movie, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that douche. He was the guy that wore the sweater like he walked out of a tennis court in 1984. Hey, what's this? The bridge of the Enterprise? Oh. I forgot about that kid. But he was killed by Klingons. And so Kirk holds a grudge. Interesting aspects to characters. Sets up a lot of tension. You know? And it's also interesting that Starfleet would do that. That they would send Kirk. You know, that number one, they wanted to have a show force, one of their most legendary and dangerous captains, with his most legendary dangerous crew, and also has a grudge. So it's something that maybe even Kirk can overcome in order to facilitate what needs to be done for the sake of peace, which is always a good idea if you ask me. It's interesting, but there is a little bit too much politics in this movie, and that makes this movie not quite as good as Wrath of Khan. All right, so but Kirk is not the only one that has bad blood. There's plenty of long-standing hatred on many sides of this conflict, and a lot of people not sure they should ally themselves with the Federation. I did like the dinner scene where they came and they had Romulan. I thought this was illegal. Hey, in the sake of peace. And they had this conversation, and I know there's a lot of Herman Melville in Wrath of Khan, but there's way too much Shakespeare in this one. All right. And they had this conversation about how you need to hear Hamlet or something like that in its original Klingon. And so I thought it was a really interesting concept because it's something from Earth culture that the Klingons liked, right? And so, but they wouldn't want to say that they like something from Earth culture, so they just said, "Oh, no, it started here," and somehow got to Earth. It's ours, actually, which is kind of interesting. It shows how proud they are as a people and so forth. And even though facing extinction, they're still screw the Federation. Some of them are, and it's interesting. It's interesting. A little too much politicking. A little, and there's no way that Leonard Nimoy cannot be a hippie. All right, so, and what's funny about doing Shakespeare and Klingon? People do that. Go to YouTube, search people doing Shakespeare and Klingon. You're going to find people doing that because of this movie. All right. And it reminds me of an old Vulcan proverb. Only Nixon could go to China. Leonard Nimoy, every single turn, he's... Anyway. The anti-grav attack on the Chancellor's ship, amazing sequence for 1991. You understand. And I remember seeing that in the theaters and like, wow, that was freaking awesome. Plus dead Klingons. And so I thought that was done very well. But because of the situation, it seemed like the Enterprise fired on this ship. You know, Kirk surrenders. He and Dr. McCoy go and try to help on their ship. They're unable to. Chancellor Gorkin dies. And they get arrested and sent to a penal colony, Klingon penal colony. It was fantastic tension. So Kirk and the gang needs to get to the bottom of it because it appeared that the Enterprise, they get sent to a penal colony. They meet some strange characters and they learn a lesson about flirting with a changeling. Shapeshifters, don't do that. That's good advice. And they eventually escape. And then that final sequence when they race to Kittimer, they try to get to Kittimer. Sulu on the Reliant. Was it the Reliant? I'm forgetting. Kirk on the Enterprise. And that fire. So good. The end was just so fantastic. It was so good. I hope I didn't ruin it for you because I did the notes for this yesterday. And last night I was like, I'm going to watch it again. Great movie. It's back to the basics. It's high tension and total war around every corner. It's a real classic masculine sci-fi adventure movie. 10 of 13 stars. Wrath of Khan is slightly better. Less boring politics. All right, let's go to the news. Alrighty. What the? Alright, this DNC shit show. Alright, so abortion palooza at DNC could force pro-life Democrats to ditch party. Just absolutely disgusting, quoted. So Democrats are throwing an abortion palooza. Damn it. Abortion palooza in Chicago for the Democratic National Convention. Quote, they're degrading human life and women for that matter. It's just absolutely disgusting. This continued celebration of abortion. Democrats for Life of America Executive Director Kristen Day told Fox News Digital. Day is appalled that the Planned Parenthood is offering free abortions inside a mobile health clinic parked in Chicago during the convention. Pro-abortion activists also marched through the streets of Chicago ahead of the convention. I think this convention is going to be abortion palooza. Quit saying that. It's horrible. In response to them providing abortions, they will provide actual support to women in need. We would provide actual support to women in need. So we started a diaper drive, Day said. Planned Parenthood, this is what they do. They do abortions. They do not support pregnant women, she continued. And this just continues to prove the fact that that's their main focus. All they care about is abortion. And yes. And it's okay to be a Democrat and say, I don't want to get on board this celebration of death that you're doing. And that's really what it is. When they start dressing this up as abortion pills, walking through the streets, it's like you're celebrating this. It's a cult of murder. All right. And there's Democrats out there that are pro-life. And even some Democrats that are like, I agree in abortion and, from some cases and whatever case I want it. And, and I'm just not so into getting excited about killing babies. Because there's plenty of Democrats who are like Bill Maher. They're like, yes, it's killing a human life, and I don't care. Which is kind of twisted on its own, But I mean, it's, it just shows this shit show at the DNC, like how absolutely left wing and crazy they're getting. And so, like many Democrats want to walk away from this, and that's fine. Come on up to the house. That's fine. Maybe Democrats will learn once they realize once they look around the room and it's just a bunch of crazy people. It's like that scene in Wayne's World when they're outside, they couldn't get in. And it's just that prairie dust town of all the freaks lingering around an Aerosmith concert. Yeah, Alice Cooper concert. Anyway. Yes, you have every right as a Democrat to say, I'm not into this. That's kind of what Robert Kennedy Jr. may be doing. So Robert Kennedy Jr.'s running mate suggests Ticket may drop out and join forces with Trump to stop Harris. So independent presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is considering dropping out and supporting former President Trump to avoid Kamala Harris's presidency. His running mate Nicole Shanahan says, quote, we are taking a very serious look at making sure the people that have corrupted our fair and free democracy do not end up in office, she said on an episode of the Impact Theory podcast posted Tuesday. The entrepreneur and attorney admitted that there are two paths for the ARF campaign to go down, one being to stay in the race or create more legitimacy for independent presidential candidates, or suspend its run and endorse Trump, which could give them the lift he needs to beat Harris in November. Is the risk of a Harris-Walz presidency worth us staying in? She asked podcast host Tom Bilyeu. The tech entrepreneur discussed that Kennedy Jr. is a spoiler candidate, telling that the host that she put tens of millions of dollars into the campaign to win the presidency. We didn't want to be a spoiler. We wanted to win. We wanted a fair shot. However, she accused the DNC of sabotage, which is true, in many ways. Even if you think that like Robert F. Kennedy wouldn't be a good representative for the Democratic Party, you got to understand like even like Harris, Robert Kennedy could probably get more votes than Harris. First of all, and people have no one voted for Harris. They just said, the guy that everyone voted for, he can't win, so we're going to take him out and put her in because that's legal. See, I'm not a lawyer or something, but something seems illegal about that. In a democracy, especially when they're coming out of doing all that, saying, we're doing all this for the democracy. It's like, no, it's a bunch of high-level people in the Democratic Party who says, we got to do this. It's like Nancy Pelosi, it's Chuck Schumer, it's the leadership of the Democratic Party made this like unilateral decision. I guess it's technically not bilateral, trilateral decision, but not involving the voters in any way and just shoving Harris in there. So what I mean is that there's room for a new Democratic Party. There's people who want a newer Democratic Party, people like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. And sometimes you may have to side with Republicans to make that happen, because I've met reasonable Democrats. There are plenty of reasonable Democrats. And they're just not on board with all this insanity that the party has become. You're still Democrats. You're still wrong. Anyway. 47. Holy cow. Yeah, Moscow was targeted with a large drone attack since Ukraine's attacking drones. Sending drones towards Moscow. All I really want to say about that is, our allies are tired of waiting for us to get our shit together. They got to deal with real things while we're sitting here navel gazing here in America. The whole world doesn't look at us like a serious country anymore because of all the nonsense going on at places like the DNC. There's people. There's people in South Africa going, IJ, bet what the? No, it's Australia. There's people in Africa saying, I'm not going to do an accent, saying, they're chopping up kids, genitals off of kids in America. They're like, I used to want to go there. Now I don't. You know what I mean? They don't look at us like we're a serious country. Everyone who's ever met Kamala Harris from another country knows she's a moron. And they're looking at us going, seriously? And they're all for it. They're all for it. Yeah, go ahead. Put a moron in your office. Don't get that guy Trump. He may do stuff. He may be effective at his job. Anyway, yes. I definitely want to talk about this kid here. Massachusetts officials shut down a boy's charity ice cream stand. A boy from Norwood, Massachusetts, has gotten creative after town officials shut down his ice cream stand, citing a food code violation. Danny Doherty, 12 years old, and his mother, Nancy Doherty, began a small stand in their neighborhood with some profits going to charity that hits close to home for them. After only 1 week, they had to stop the sales of their homemade ice cream. I think the most disappointing part is that one of our neighbors, somebody driving by, decided to take time and complain about a kid stand, Nancy Doherty told Fox News Digital. I was really not mad. I'd say more disappointed that it happened. When her son became bored during summer vacation, everyone has kids. I'm bored. Dealing with that this summer. They're so happy school's going, right? So she gave him the idea to come up with an ice cream stand and donate half the proceeds to charity. Instead of a lemonade stand, why not generate some interest, make it ice cream? Because they make their own homemade ice cream. So they made up some flavors. They donated it to his the Boston Bears Club, a special education hockey team for kids that his younger brother's on. Cool concept, comes from the heart. But you know what? Lemonade stands have way less likelihood of causing somebody to get listeria. I don't know what listeria is, but if you don't clean your ice cream making equipment properly, there's a very good chance of getting listeria into your ice cream. I don't know if you've heard about recalls that like, oh, you got to pull all these Ben and Jerry's because of listeria. Because it's bad. And if you're a 12-year-old boy running an ice cream stand and somebody gets listeria, not only was like, what's that going to do to you psychologically? Number two is like, there's a serious liability issue. Lemonade stand, less of a chance of that. All right. How they resolved this is they just started giving away ice cream, asking for donations. It's like they did it like weed. Clever. That was definitely the mom's idea. We'll just do what the dispensary does. Suggested donation. Here's your free ice cream. Free market. Anyway, you want to get duck insurance? Seagull Insurance? So food truck offers insurance policy after hungry birds cause issue among customers. Food truck has an innovative way to keep its customers happy by offering insurance on their meals. Hawkins Barbecue is a traveling food truck known for its sandwiches, loaded fries, and ice cream. But the truck has run into some issues with local birds of late. The food stop on the Isle of Man, located in the Irish Sea between England and Ireland. Oh, birds aplenty. In Ireland, recently beginning offering Seagull Insurance for paying customers. They posted about it on Facebook, Hawkins Barbecue. I think it's fair to say, this is a quote, that so many on the island had one or two traumatic experiences with the island's enthusiastic seagulls. Yeah, they get real aggressive on, especially with this food around everywhere. Anyone's been in a boardwalk knows. Anyway, it continued, whether it's being swooped or walking down Strand Street or attacked eating ice cream or gelato, we may have something for you. For £1, about $1.30, customers of Hawkins Barbecue could purchase Seagull Insurance with their meal to ensure a replacement meal will be made free of charge if the bird does happen to snatch it up. That's pretty clever. Because how often you got to pay out on that? I don't know.
How old do you have the seagulls trained?
I don't know. Until people start feeding the seagulls that food in particular, and they're
What I'm saying is at the end of the shift, just throw some fries out.
Oh yeah, keep the seagulls happy.
All the seagulls will smell the fries and they'll come.
No. You're an appeasement guy. No, you can't make peace. You can't make peace with Islam, man.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
They're attracting the seagulls on purpose so that they can sell the insurance.
But if too many seagulls attack the customers, then they have to pay out too much more, so they're not making any profit off the seagull insurance. You know what I'm saying? You got this business mindset. I forgot. You're like, how can I make this work for us? I could sell studio time, and we give you seagull insurance for studio time. You get an hour. You pay an extra $50. If a pack of hungry birds comes into the studio, starts attacking you, we'll give you another hour for free once we get all the birds out. I see what you're doing. All right, one more story and we get out of here. A little family drama. A woman said she's 40 years old with a large family, needs a break this year from hosting Thanksgiving at her home after many years of doing so. Yet she's taking heat for the declaration after the family has grown accustomed to her generosity. A lot of people reacted to it. 40-year-old female, 6 sisters. 6 sisters. She wrote on Reddit, Am I the a-hole? She has 2 older sisters and 4 younger sisters. They have close-knit family, taking responsibility of host, but she has taken taken on the responsibility of hosting Thanksgiving at her house for a full decade. I enjoy having everyone over, but it's a lot of work, especially since we have at least 2 kids in each all between 5 and 15. It's chaos, but joyful chaos. So 7 times 3, 4. 7 times 4 is 28 people in your house, minimum.
Oh.
She does the she and her husband do the majority of the planning, cooking, and organizing, and it mostly falls on her. So this year, with her life is hectic, she said she needs a break, and she suggested to one of her sisters taking over hosting Thanksgiving this year. She brought it up in a family group chat, thinking it would be a reasonable request, and it's plenty ahead of time. And the 2 older sisters did not take kindly to the suggestion. They were not happy with the idea, she wrote in her post. They were either too busy or have smaller houses, and then they're dealing with a lot of stress, and they don't have the energy to host. As a result, both older sisters suggested the same sister keep doing it again this year to keep tradition going. Plus, she knows how to do it right, they insisted. Flattery, flattery. Younger sisters were more understanding, yet none of them offered to take over hosting duties this year. She wrote on Reddit that she is remaining firm about her decision, and she really needs someone else to host this year. I suggest we can even make it a potluck to ease the burden. That didn't work either. The 2 older sisters accused me of being selfish and abandoning a family tradition that I've upheld for years. They argued that I'm the one with the most experience and that Thanksgiving just wouldn't be the same if I didn't host. Flattery, flattery, flattery. 6 sisters. Nightmares. Now, she said, there's tension in the family with my older sisters feeling like I'm letting them down. The women insisted that in her Reddit post that she feels like she's done them a fair share over the years, and it's not unreasonable to ask for a break. But at the same time, I understand my older sisters are under a lot of pressure, and that hosting Thanksgiving is a big deal for the family. She asked others on the social media platform if she's wrong for refusing to host Thanksgiving this year after doing it for the past decade. She said that she noted that one of the older sisters handles Christmas each year, so I feel like it's totally fair that she does not want to do both holidays. Okay, that's fair. There's exceptions for people. I get it. It's a big family. She also noted that the Christmas hosting sister does not cook. She hires a catering company, but it's still a lot to take on regardless. Jeez Louise. Etiquette experts. Yeah, it's just how other people think about it. But here's the thing. You gotta, I don't know. I think your sisters should be a little bit more understanding about, what you do in terms of hosting Thanksgiving for over a decade. If you have the house space to host that many people, and there's logistical issues, obviously. If some of them may not have a place that's I got an apartment with my boyfriend, and there's no way I can host everybody in my apartment. Gotcha. And if your house is the house that's big enough to accommodate, then your sister should, I don't know, do something helpful. Like, how about we come and stay with you, the night before Thanksgiving and the day of, and help you, get all this stuff done just to ease your burden a little bit, at the very least. But they're no, I got my own. I'm stressed out too, and stuff like that. And so there's so many solutions here. And I remember I was in the car on the way over here, and I was like, why did I put that article in there? I like drama. I mean, I'm a human being. I like soap operas. You know what I mean? I don't like to admit that I like the gossip and because I'm a man, damn it. But that's why that forum is so popular, is because everyone is interested in that kind of stuff. And that's why I included it. It's because everyone would be interested. It makes me more relatable to you. And the show is over. And I want to remind you again that I have a Patreon. Go to patreon.com/shockmonkeyradio. Become a patron today. I'd appreciate it. Use the hashtag shockmonkeyradio, all one word, to send me money through Cash App. You can follow me on social media over there. That's the word wasteland spelled backwards on Twitter, DNALETSAW. And at SLRobbins13 on the Instagrams. This has been Shock Monkey Radio. I'm the Madman, and I love you.